the doctor slipped me a secret note that read, "Don't go home. Run." That night, I discovered my own family was planning to have me committed to a nursing home to steal everything I had. But what they didn't know was that I had a secret that would change their lives forever. My name is Martha Caldwell, and I'm 70 years old. For 45 years, I thought I had raised a loving son. Benjamin came into my life when he was just 2 years old, an abandoned boy my husband and I adopted. With all the love in the world, I gave him everything: an education, affection, and years of sacrifice. When my husband passed away 10 years ago, Benjamin became my only family, along with his wife Eleanor and my granddaughter Olivia. But that Tuesday, during what should have been a routine doctor's appointment, my world fell apart. Dr. Elliot Sterling, my trusted physician of many years, examined me as he always did, but something about his behavior seemed off. His hands trembled slightly as he checked my blood pressure, and he avoided direct eye contact. "Everything looks good, Mrs. Caldwell," he said, his voice strained. "Your labs are perfect. Your heart is strong. You have many good years ahead of you." As I got up to leave, I felt him approach from behind. Suddenly, while I was grabbing my purse, Dr. Sterling discreetly slipped a folded piece of paper into the bottom of it. He did it so quickly that I almost didn't notice. "Take good care, Mrs. Caldwell," he said with a forced smile. "And remember, family isn't always what it seems." His words sent a chill down my spine. What did he mean by that? Why had he given me that note so secretly? I left the office with my heart pounding, but I decided not to read the note until I got home. During the cab ride, 1,000 thoughts crossed my mind. Dr. Sterling had never acted so strangely. He was a serious, professional man who had known my family since Benjamin was a teenager. Why would he be giving me secret messages now? When I arrived at the house, Benjamin was in the living room with Eleanor and Olivia. The three of them were talking in hushed tones, but they abruptly fell silent when they saw me. Eleanor had several papers in her hands that she quickly hid behind her back. "How was your doctor's appointment, Mom?" Benjamin asked, his smile not reaching his eyes. "Everything's fine, son," the doctor said. "I'm in perfect health," I replied. Trying to sound normal, Eleanor exchanged a look with Benjamin that didn't go unnoticed. Why did they seem so disappointed? Were they hoping the doctor would tell me I was sick? "That's great," Grandma Olivia said. But her voice sounded strangely cold. "It means you have plenty of time left to enjoy yourself." That night at dinner, I noticed my family was acting very strange. Benjamin barely spoke to me. Eleanor answered in monosyllables, and Olivia avoided my gaze. There was a tension in the air that you could cut with a knife. "Is something wrong?" I finally asked. "No, Mom. Everything's fine," Benjamin replied quickly. "We're just tired." After dinner, I went to my room with a heavy heart. Something was definitely going on, and the doctor's note was starting to make sense. With trembling hands, I took the paper from my purse and unfolded it. What I read took my breath away. Mrs. Caldwell, your family was here yesterday. Eleanor asked me about your mental state, and if I could certify that you need special care. They want to put you in a nursing home. They also asked about your inheritance and assets. Don't go home. Run. Dr. Sterling? My hands began to shake uncontrollably. My own family. The son I raised with so much love. The daughter-in-law I treated like my own child. My granddaughter who was always my adoration. Suddenly, it all made sense. The strange looks, the whispers, the hidden papers. They weren't disappointed because I was in good health. They were furious because the doctor hadn't cooperated with their plans. I couldn't sleep that night. Every noise in the house startled me. I lay awake, listening, trying to understand how I had reached this point. How was it possible that the family for whom I had sacrificed everything was now conspiring against me? At 2:00 in the morning, I heard voices in the kitchen. I got up stealthily and crept toward my bedroom door. I could clearly hear Benjamin, Eleanor, and Olivia talking in low voices, but loud enough for me to understand every word. The damn doctor wouldn't cooperate, Eleanor said with irritation. I explained to him that the old lady is losing her mind, that she sometimes doesn't recognize anyone, that she leaves the gas on. But he insisted she's perfectly fine. Relax, my love, Benjamin replied. We'll find another doctor, one who's willing to sign the papers we need. But what do we do with her in the meantime? Olivia asked. I already booked my spot at the college in the US. I need that money now, not in 5 years when she finally dies of old age. Olivia, don't talk like that, Benjamin scolded, though without much conviction. You have a point, though. We need to act fast. The house is worth almost $500,000. And with her pension and savings, we could live comfortably until she dies. Eleanor finished coldly. Look, I didn't join this family to take care of a senile old woman. I married you because I thought you'd inherit soon. But it's been 10 years, and she's still here spending our money. Our money, I repeated silently, feeling rage start to grow in my chest. All my money earned with my and my late husband's sweat they saw as their own. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk to the lawyer, Benjamin continued. I'm going to ask if we can have her declared incompetent without a doctor. There has to be a way. And if that doesn't work, Eleanor added, we can always make her life impossible until she decides to go to a nursing home herself. Take away her TV. Don't cook for her. Treat her like what she is, a burden. Mom, don't be so cruel, Olivia said. But then she added, though the truth is, I'm already tired of pretending to love her. She's always there, butting into our conversations, asking why we're out so late. It's insufferable. My legs began to tremble. I leaned against the wall, feeling my world crumbling around me. These were the people for whom I had worked 18 hours a day when Benjamin was little, for whom I had given up my dreams, my friendships, my own life. Remember my 15th birthday, Olivia continued. She bought me that horrible red dress and forced me to wear it. All my friends laughed at me. From that day on, I swore I'd get her back someday. And what bothers me the most, Eleanor added, is that she's always bragging about what a good mother she was, about all she sacrificed for Benjamin, as if she were a saint. But the truth is, she adopted him because she couldn't have her own kids. She used him to fill her emptiness. Enough already, Benjamin said. But his voice sounded tired, not indignant. Look, in a week I'm going to talk to her. I'll tell her we found a very nice nursing home, that it would be better for her to be with people her own age. And if she refuses, we'll use Plan B. What's Plan B? Olivia asked. We make her really lose her mind, Benjamin replied coldly. We switch her medications. We hide her things. We tell her she did things she didn't do. In a month, any doctor will certify that she's mentally ill. The horror of his words hit me like a punch. Not only did they want to rob me, they wanted to destroy my mind, my dignity, my sanity. They wanted to turn me into what they claimed I already was. Well, it's perfect, Eleanor said, excited. And once she's committed, we'll have access to all her accounts. We can sell the house, collect her pension, and dispose of everything without anyone bothering us. Exactly, Benjamin confirmed. And the best part is that no one will suspect a thing. To the outside world, we're the perfect family, lovingly taking care of a sick grandmother. They laughed. The three of them laughed as if they had told the best joke in the world. They laughed at me, at my naivety, at my unconditional love for them. In that moment, something inside me broke. It wasn't my heart that had already been shattered since I read the doctor's note. What broke was my blind faith in goodness, my belief that love is always reciprocated, my conviction that family is sacred. First thing in the morning, I'm going to make copies of all her cards, Eleanor whispered. That way, we can spend a little at a time without her noticing. Great, Benjamin approved. And I'm going to go through all her papers. There has to be a will somewhere that we can modify. Modify how? Olivia asked. Let's just say that Grandma, in her mental confusion, decided to leave everything to us because we're the only ones who care for her, Benjamin explained with a smile in his voice. Dad, you're a genius, Olivia said admiringly, but we have to be careful. What if someone suspects something? No one's going to suspect anything, Eleanor reassured her. She has no friends, no family besides us. She's a lonely old woman who is completely dependent on us. Who's going to defend her? They were right. I had no close friends. I had lost touch with most of them when I dedicated myself completely to taking care of Benjamin. I had no siblings. My parents had passed away years ago. I was completely vulnerable. But what they didn't know, what they had never bothered to find out, was that I had a secret. A secret that would completely change the balance of power in this situation. When my husband died, he left me with more than just love and memories. He left me with an inheritance I had kept hidden all these years. $2.2 million in an offshore bank account that only I knew about, in addition to 3 properties overseas that he had bought his investments. I never told Benjamin about it because I wanted to be sure he loved me for who I was, not for what I had. I wanted him to build his own life, to be independent. But now I realized I had been a fool. He had never loved me. He had just been patiently waiting for me to die so he could inherit the little he thought I had. "Well," Benjamin said finally, "I think we're all clear. Tomorrow we put the plan in motion. And remember, in front of her, we have to keep being the loving family we've always been." "Of course," Elena replied. "I'm an excellent actress. I can fake loving her for a little while longer." I heard their footsteps retreating toward their rooms. I stayed there, frozen, with the doctor's note clutched in my hand. He was right. I had to run. But I wasn't going to run like a scared victim. I was going to run like a woman who had just woken up from a 45-year-long dream. I was going to run to plan the most perfect revenge they could ever imagine. I spent the rest of the night planning. I didn't sleep for a minute, but for the first time in months, I felt completely awake. I knew I had to act fast and intelligently. They had underestimated the senile old lady, but they would soon discover they had woken up the wrong woman at 5:00 in the morning, when I was sure everyone was asleep. I silently took out my smallest suitcase and packed only the essentials. Personal documents, a few changes of clothes, my medications, and most importantly, the little notebook where I had written down all the details of my secret accounts. Before leaving, I decided to do something that would give me an advantage in the future. I took out my phone and activated the voice recorder. Then I pretended I had forgotten something and walked back through the house, making sure to pass near Benjamin and Eleanor's room. As I expected, they were already awake, whispering about their plans for the day. Eleanor was talking about making copies of my cards, while Benjamin mentioned his appointment with the lawyer to ask about the declaration of incompetence. "Do you think she suspects anything?" Eleanor asked, worried. "Impossible," Benjamin replied. "She's too old and trusting. Besides, what could she do? She has nowhere to go. She has no money of her own. She has no friends. We're all she has." "It's pathetic," Eleanor added with contempt. "A 70-year-old woman who is completely dependent on us. Sometimes I feel sorry for her, but then I remember she chose this life. She could have remarried after her husband died, but she chose to stay here, being the perfect grandmother. And now she's going to pay for that decision." Benjamin concluded coldly. Perfect. I had recorded enough material to sync them. After that, I put the phone away and finished getting ready to leave. I left a note on the kitchen table that said, "Gone to run some errands. I'll be back later, Martha." I knew they wouldn't suspect a thing. After all, a senile old woman going on a strategic escape wasn't a possibility they had considered. I took a cab to the nearest bank. It was Wednesday morning, and I knew I had a few hours before my family would realize something was wrong. At the bank, I withdrew a considerable amount of cash and verified that my secret accounts were intact. The teller, a young woman named Patricia, looked at me with curiosity when I asked to withdraw $5,000 in cash. "Are you sure, ma'am?" "That's a considerable amount to carry around in cash," she said with genuine concern. "Completely sure," I replied firmly. "I have some personal matters to take care of." After the bank, I took another cab to the most elegant hotel in the city. I knew I needed a place where I would feel safe while planning my next moves. The Grand Imperial Hotel was perfect. Discreet comfortable, and with services that would allow me to maintain my privacy. How long will you be staying with us? The receptionist, an elegant woman in her 40s, asked me. I'm not sure. I replied. It could be a week. It could be several months. It depends on how certain family matters unfold. She nodded with professional understanding and assigned me a suite on the 10th floor. As I went up in the elevator, I felt a mix of terror and excitement. For the first time in decades, I was making decisions just for myself. The suite was beautiful, spacious, with a view of the city, elegantly decorated and equipped with everything I needed. I sat on the living room sofa and for the first time since the night before, allowed my emotions to overwhelm me. I cried. I cried for the 45 years I had dedicated to raising a son who saw me as an obstacle. I cried for the humiliations I had endured without realizing it. I cried for the woman I had been before I became the perfect grandmother they despised. But after crying, I wiped away my tears and began to plan. I took out my notebook and started making a list of everything I needed to do. First, contact my financial advisors overseas to activate my accounts. Second, hire the best lawyer in the city. Third, find a private investigator who could help me document everything my family had done and was planning to do. At 2:00 in the afternoon, my phone started to ring. It was Benjamin. Mom, where are you? It's 2:00 in the afternoon and you haven't come back. His voice sounded worried, but I could detect the irritation beneath the concern. I'm fine, son, I replied calmly. I decided to take a day for myself. It's been a long time since I did that. A day for yourself. What does that mean? Where exactly are you now? His voice was clearly annoyed. I'm in the city taking care of some things I needed to do. I lied partially. Don't worry. I'll be back when I'm finished. Mom, this isn't like you. You always let us know where you're going. Eleanor is worried, and so is Olivia. We need to know where you are. For the first time in years, I detected something in his voice that surprised me. Panic. He wasn't worried about my well-being. He was worried because he had lost control over me. You know what, Benjamin? I said with a calmness that surprised me. I'm 70 years old. I think I'm old enough to make my own decisions about where to go and what to do. There was a silence on the other end of the line. Mom, you're scaring me. You don't sound like yourself. Are you taking your medications? He asked, and in that question, I could hear the beginning of their strategy. He was already planting the seed that I was not mentally well. I'm perfectly fine, son. I've never been better, I replied and hung up. I immediately turned off my phone. I knew they would call me obsessively, and I needed peace to do what I had to do. That afternoon, I hired the most prestigious law firm in the city. The head attorney, a man in his 50s, named Dr. Graham Montgomery, received me personally when I mentioned the amount of money I was willing to pay for his services. I need complete legal protection, I explained. My family is trying to have me declared incompetent to take control of my assets, but I have recordings that prove it's a conspiracy. Doctor,
Montgomery listened carefully as I played the recordings I had made that morning. His expression grew more and more serious. "Mrs. Caldwell, this is very serious," he said finally. "What your family is planning constitutes elder abuse, conspiracy to commit fraud, and potentially forgery of documents. Oh, we could prosecute them criminally." "That's exactly what I want," I replied with determination. "But I need to do it strategically. I want them to pay, but I want it to be in the most painful way possible for them." Dr. Montgomery smiled. It was the smile of a man who had found a case he liked. "Mrs. Caldwell, I think you and I are going to work very well together," he said. "I'm going to assign my best team to your case. But I need you to tell me everything, absolutely everything." I told him about adopting Benjamin, about my husband, about the years of sacrifice, about the secret inheritance, about everything. Dr. Montgomery took notes carefully. "Do you know exactly how much money you have in your secret accounts?" he asked me. $2.2 million in cash plus 3 properties overseas that are worth approximately $1.5 million more, I replied. Dr. Montgomery stopped writing and looked at me with renewed respect. "Mrs. Caldwell, you are not just a victim of family abuse. You are a very powerful woman who has been underestimated by her family. We are going to use that power to teach them the lesson of their lives." For the first time in days, I smiled genuinely. The war had begun, but now I had the right weapons. That night, from the comfort of my hotel suite, I turned on my phone to check my messages. I had 37 missed calls from Benjamin, 15 from Eleanor, and 8 from Olivia. The text messages were becoming more and more desperate. "Mom, please answer. We are very worried. Martha, if you don't respond, we're going to call the police." "Grandma, where are you? Dad says you're going to get into trouble." I decided to reply only to Benjamin. "I'm fine. Don't worry. I'll come back when I'm ready." The response came immediately. "Mom, this isn't normal. You need to come home now. Eleanor made your favorite dinner." His favorite dinner. As if after 45 years, he didn't know that Eleanor had never cooked anything special for me. It was another lie, another manipulation. The next day, Dr. Graham Montgomery called me early. "Mrs. Caldwell, I have some interesting news. My private investigator has already started working on your case and has discovered something important. Your daughter-in-law, Eleanor, has been using your personal information to apply for credit cards in your name for the past 6 months." What I exclaimed, feeling indignation grow in my chest. "She has 5 credit cards that you never authorized with an accumulated debt of 43,000 purchases at luxury stores, expensive restaurants, even a trip to the Florida Keys last month," the lawyer explained. "But I never went to the Florida Keys," I said, confused. "No, ma'am, they went. Your family took a week-long vacation using your money while they told you they were going to visit Eleanor's sick mother." The memory hit me like a slap. It hit me. I remembered that week perfectly. Eleanor had cried, saying her mother was very ill and they needed to go and take care of her urgently. I had given them money for the trip in addition to what they had already stolen with the fake credit cards. Dr. Montgomery, what else did your investigator discover? I asked, fearing the answer. Your son Benjamin lost his job 8 months ago. But he never told you. He has been living off your savings and pension.
We also discovered that he has already contacted 3 different doctors, trying to find one who is willing to certify that you suffer from senile dementia. Each revelation was a deeper stab. Not only had they planned to rob me, but they had already been robbing me for months. Not only did they want to declare me insane, they had already started the process. And my granddaughter, Olivia, I asked, my voice breaking. She also has her secrets. Mrs. Caldwell. She's 3 months pregnant, but she's lying to her parents about who the father is. Apparently, the real father is a married man of 50 who promised to leave his wife, but now doesn't want to know anything about the baby. Oh my God, I whispered. My granddaughter, the girl I had helped raise, was involved in a scandal that could destroy her future. There's more, Dr. Montgomery continued. Eleanor has been having an affair with your neighbor Dave for the past 2 years. My investigator has photographs and videos that prove it. Dave, Carol's husband, I asked, remembering the sweet woman who lived next door. That's right? Apparently, Eleanor and Dave meet at a motel on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, while Benjamin believes she is at her yoga class. The irony was brutal. While they were planning to destroy my life by accusing me of being crazy, each of them was living a lie that made them far worse than I could ever have imagined. Dr. Montgomery, I want you to document all of this, I told him with renewed determination. Every lie, every theft, every betrayal. I want that when the time comes to confront them, they have evidence of everything. Of course, Mrs. Caldwell. But I have a suggestion. Instead of confronting them immediately, what do you think of letting them dig their own grave a little deeper? That afternoon, I decided to do something I hadn't done in years. Buy new clothes. I went to the most elegant stores in the city and bought 3 beautiful dresses. An elegant black one, a vibrant red one, and an emerald green one that made me feel powerful. I also bought new shoes, a genuine leather handbag, and even got my hair done at the city's most exclusive salon. The stylist, a young woman named Sophia, worked on my hair for 3 hours. "Ma'am, you have beautiful hair," she told me as she worked. "Why have you neglected it so much?" Because for a long time I thought it wasn't worth taking care of myself. I replied honestly. I thought my only function was to be the invisible grandmother who takes care of everyone else.
Well, those days are over, Sophia declared firmly. When I'm done with you, you're going to look like the queen you've always been. And she was right. When I looked at myself in the mirror, I didn't recognize the woman looking back at me. My hair had a modern, elegant cut with highlights that brought light to my face. I looked powerful. That night, having dinner in the hotel restaurant, I decided to call Benjamin. "Mom, finally. Where the heck have you been?" His voice sounded furious, not worried. "Taking care of myself. Son," I replied calmly. You know, I hadn't taken time for myself in years. It's been very revealing. "Mom, this has to stop. You can't just disappear like this. We're your family. We have a right to know where you are." "Right," I repeated.
letting the word hang in the air. Since when does my family have a right over me since you started acting erratically? He replied. And there he was again, trying to plant the seed that I was mentally unstable, erratic. Does it seem erratic to you that a 70-year-old woman decides to take a few days for herself? Yes. When that woman has never done anything like that before? Mom, I think you need to talk to a specialist. You're acting very strangely. A specialist, I asked. Finding confusion? What kind of specialist? Benjamin, a psychologist. Mom, someone who can help you with these behavioral changes. Perfect. He was admitting his intentions on a call that I was recording. You know what, son? You're right. I do need specialized help. I told him, and I could hear his sigh of relief on the other end of the line. I'm glad you understand. Mom? Yes, I understand perfectly. I need a specialist in family fraud, a specialist in elder abuse, and a specialist in psychological manipulation, because that's exactly what you all have been doing to me. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. Mom, what are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that I know everything, Benjamin. I know about the fake credit cards Eleanor took out in my name. I know about your plan to have me declared incompetent. I know about the doctors you've contacted. I know everything. Mom, that's ridiculous. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you really need medical help. You know what else I know? Benjamin, I know you lost your job 8 months ago and that you've been living off my money while lying to my face. I know about the trip to the Florida Keys that you paid for with my stolen money. I know many other things that are going to surprise you a lot when you see them in court. You're delirious, he said. But his voice no longer sounded sure. Delirious. Last night I heard you planning how to make me really go crazy by switching my medications. Is that a delusion? 2. This time the silence was even longer. Mom, come home. We can talk about this as a family. No. Benjamin, we are no longer family. A family doesn't betray you the way you betrayed me. A family doesn't plan the mental destruction of one of its members to steal their money. Mom, please. What I'm going to do is give you one chance, just one chance, to confess everything, apologize genuinely, and return every penny you have stolen from me. If you do that, maybe, just maybe, I can find a way to forgive you. We have nothing to confess, he replied, but his voice was trembling. Then I'll see you in court, son. Have a good night. I hung up the phone, and for the first time in days, I felt completely at peace. The war had been officially declared, and I had all the weapons. The following days were an emotional roller coaster. My phone wouldn't stop ringing with desperate calls from my family. First, they tried the love tactic. Crying messages from Olivia saying how much she missed me. Broken voices from Eleanor asking for forgiveness for any misunderstandings. And pleas from Benjamin begging me to come home to clear things up. When that strategy didn't work, they switched to fear and intimidation. Benjamin left me a voice message that said, "Mom,
If you don't come back immediately, we're going to have to take legal measures to protect you from yourself. Your erratic behavior is forcing us to consider legal guardianship." But Dr. Graham Montgomery had prepared me for this, Mrs. Caldwell. "Let them file the petition for guardianship," he advised me during one of our meetings. "It will be the best evidence we could have of their true intentions. Besides, we already have 3 independent psychiatrists who have certified that you are in perfect mental condition." Meanwhile, my private investigator had been very busy every day. I received new reports that left me more surprised than I thought possible. "Mrs. Caldwell," he told me during our Friday meeting, "your family has dramatically accelerated their plans since you disappeared yesterday. Benjamin went to your bank trying to access your accounts, saying that you had suffered a psychotic episode and that he needed to temporarily handle your finances." "And what did the bank tell him?" I asked. "Fortunately, the bank manager is very professional. He told Benjamin that he would need official legal documentation to make any changes to your accounts. But Benjamin insisted so much that they had to ask him to leave." "There's more?" "Yes. Eleanor has been selling your belongings. Yesterday, I saw that she posted several of your antique furniture pieces on an online sales page. She also tried to sell your jewelry collection to a pawn shop, but the appraiser refused because the pieces obviously belonged to an older person, and Eleanor couldn't prove she had authorization to sell them." My heart pounded. Those jewels were gifts from my late husband. Unique pieces he had collected over decades. "And my granddaughter Olivia," I asked with a lump in my throat. "She has been the most active of all. She's been telling her friends that you are suffering from advanced Alzheimer's and that the family is considering having you committed. She has also been using this story to borrow money from several acquaintances, saying she needs funds to pay for her grandmother's medical care. Each revelation was more painful than the last. Not only were they stealing from me, they were destroying my reputation and using my supposed illness to manipulate other people. But here's the most interesting part," the investigator continued. "Last night, the 3 of them had a meeting at your house with a man our sources identified as Paul Hayes, a document forger known in the city's criminal underworld." "A forger?" I asked, feeling my blood run cold. "Apparently, they are planning to create fake medical documents that certify your mental incompetence. Paul Hayes specializes in creating fictitious medical histories and forging doctors' signatures." This was much worse than I had imagined. Not only did they want to steal from me, they were willing to commit multiple serious crimes to do so. "Dr. Montgomery," I said over the phone that same afternoon, "I think it's time to accelerate our plans. If we wait any longer, they're going to have fake documents that could complicate things." "I agree, Mrs. Caldwell. Are you ready for phase 2 of our plan?" Phase 2 was brilliant in its simplicity. Instead of confronting them directly, we were going to let them incriminate themselves publicly. On Monday morning, I got dressed in my new elegant black dress, put on my best jewelry, and headed to the city's most prestigious real estate office. I had made an appointment to view luxury properties, specifically homes worth over $1 million. Mrs. Caldwell, the real estate agent, a dapper man named Rick, greeted me. "It's a pleasure to meet you. I understand you're interested in acquiring a high V-value property." "That's right," I replied with confidence. "I'm looking for a house that reflects my new stage of life. Something elegant, modern, with good security. Perfect. I have 3 properties that might interest you. What Rick didn't know was that my private investigator had coordinated everything perfectly. At 11 in the morning, exactly when we would be viewing the second property, Benjamin, Eleanor, and Olivia would coincidentally appear at the same real estate office. We were in the middle of a visit to a spectacular mansion when I heard familiar voices at the main entrance. Excuse me, I said to Rick. I think some acquaintances just arrived. When we went down to the main lobby, there were the 3 of them, dressed in their best clothes, talking to another real estate agent. We're interested in selling a property. I heard Benjamin say, "It's my mother's house, but she's ill, and we have legal power of attorney to handle her affairs." Power of attorney, the agent asked.
Could you show me the documentation? Well, we're still processing the official papers. Eleanor replied nervously, but it's just a matter of days. We want to get a head start on the appraisal process. Hello, family, I said loudly from the stairs. The 3 of them turned around at the same time, and their faces of horror were worthy of a movie. Benjamin turned pale. Eleanor's mouth opened without making a sound, and Olivia literally took a step back. "Mom," Benjamin stammered. What are you doing here?" "The same thing you are, apparently," I replied calmly as I walked down the stairs. "Although I'm buying, not selling." Rick, my real estate agent, approached with a professional smile. "Do you know these people? Mrs. Caldwell?" "Unfortunately." "Yes," I replied. "This is my family, or at least that's what I thought until recently. Mom, we need to talk," Benjamin said, trying to sound authoritative, but failing miserably. "About what?" "Benjamin, about how you were planning to sell my house without my authorization, about the fake documents you're processing, or about the power of attorney you just mentioned that doesn't exist." The other real estate agent looked confused and clearly uncomfortable. "Excuse me," he interrupted. "But if there is a legal conflict over the property, we cannot proceed with any appraisal until it is resolved." "There's no conflict," Eleanor said desperately. "It's just that she hasn't been right in the head lately." "I'm not right in the head," I repeated loudly, making sure everyone in the office could hear. "Is that why I'm here buying a $1.5 million house with my own money?" Rick's jaw dropped. $1.5 million? Olivia whispered. "Oh, yes. Dear granddaughter," I said with a sweet smile. "It turns out your senile grandmother has a lot more money than you thought." I took out my phone and dialed the Dr. Montgomery's number. "Doctor, I'm at Richardson Associates, really. My family is here trying to sell my property without authorization and claiming they have power of attorney over my affairs. Could you send someone from your office to document this situation?" "Of course. Mrs. Caldwell. Someone will be there in 15 minutes. I hung up and looked at my family with a calmness that surprised me. "Now, we're going to wait for my lawyers to arrive," I announced. "And they're going to explain to everyone here exactly what legal documents you have, how you obtained them, and why you believe you have the right to sell my property." Benjamin tried to approach me. "Mom, this is a misunderstanding. We can solve it at home." "No," I said firmly, taking a step back.
There is nothing left to solve at home. I no longer have a home, at least not with you in it. Eleanor began to cry, but they were tears of panic, not sadness. Martha, please. We're family. Everything we've done has been for your own good. For my own good, I asked, raising my voice. Stealing my money with fake credit cards was for my own good. Planning to forge medical documents was for my own good. Hiring a criminal to fake my medical history was for my own good. Each accusation felt like a bomb in the lobby of the real estate office. The other clients and employees had stopped to listen, and I could see the expressions of horror and disgust on their faces. We don't know what you're talking about, we ain't. Olivia lied desperately. You don't. I took out my phone and played one of the recordings I had made. Benjamin's voice filled the space. We make her really lose her mind. We switch her medications. We hide her things. We tell her she did things she didn't do. In a month, any doctor will certify that she's mentally ill. The silence in the real estate office was deafening. I could see how the faces of the employees and clients were filled with indignation and repugnance. That recording is illegal, Eleanor yelled hysterically. Not in this state, I replied calmly. And definitely not when it's recorded to prevent a crime that is being planned. At that moment, 2 lawyers from Montgomery's firm arrived along with a public notary, Mrs. Caldwell. We are from the Montgomery and Associates firm. We understand there are some people here who claim to have legal authority over your affairs. That's right, I replied. I would like you to officially document that these 3 people have no legal power over me, my properties, or my finances, and that any attempt to exercise such authority constitutes fraud. One of the lawyers addressed Benjamin. Sir, could you show me the documentation that supports your authority to sell Mrs. Caldwell's property? Benjamin opened and closed his mouth like a fish out of water. We're in the process of... In other words, they don't have any documentation, I declared, because they don't have any authority. What they do have is a criminal plan to steal everything I own. The public humiliation at the real estate office was just the beginning. When we left the building, my family followed me to the street, alternately yelling and pleading, "Mom, wait!" Benjamin shouted, "Can't we fix this? It's all been a terrible misunderstanding." "Grandma, please!" Olivia cried. "I love you. You can't do this to us." Eleanor, for her part, had completely changed her strategy. She no longer feigned love or concern. "You're a bitter old woman," she shouted at me as I got into my cab. "You've used us all these years. Benjamin gave you the best years of his life, and this is how you repay him. The best years of his life." I turned toward her from the cab window. "Do you mean the years I worked 18 hours a day to support him? The years I gave up my career, my friends, my social life to raise him, those years you chose to adopt him?" Eleonina replied with venom in her voice. "No one forced you, and now you pretend we owe you eternal gratitude." "I don't pretend you owe me gratitude," I replied with a deadly calm. "I just pretend that you don't steal from me, that you don't betray me, and that you don't plan to drive me crazy to get my money. Apparently, that was too much to ask." I told the cab driver to start the car, leaving my family shouting on the curb. That afternoon, Dr. Montgomery summoned me to his office for an urgent meeting. "Mrs. Caldwell, I have extraordinary news," he said, with a smile I hadn't seen before. "Your family made a critical mistake after the incident at the real estate office." "What kind of mistake?" "In their desperation, Benjamin went directly to the document forger, Paul Hayes, and paid him $50,000 in advance to speed up the creation of your fake medical documents." $50,000? Where did they get so much money? From the credit cards they took out in your name. And apparently, Eleanor sold her car. But here's the best part. Paul Hayes is an FBI informant. He has been collaborating with the authorities for the past 6 months to dismantle a document fraud ring. I was speechless for a moment. "You mean that your family is not only being investigated for family fraud, but they're now under federal investigation for conspiracy to commit medical document fraud?" The FBI has audio and video recordings of the entire transaction. That night, from my hotel suite, I decided to do something I had been putting off: confront each member of my family individually, but not face to face. I had something much more powerful in mind. I opened my laptop and created an account on the country's most popular live streaming platform. My title was simple but effective: "A Grandma Tells the Truth About Her Family." At 8 at night, I started my first live stream. At first, there were only 3 viewers, but to my surprise, the number began to grow rapidly. "Good evening." I began looking directly at the camera. "My name is Martha Caldwell. I'm 70 years old. And tonight, I'm going to tell you a story that will change the way you see perfect families." In 20 minutes, I had over 500 viewers. By the end of the hour, there were over 3,000. I told them everything from Benjamin's adoption to the secret note from Dr. Sterling, from the fraudulent credit cards to the plans to drive me crazy. I played the recordings, showed the documents I had compiled, and explained each betrayal in precise detail. The live comments were overwhelmingly supportive. "What a horrible family. Mrs. Caldwell, you are a warrior. Sue them. Make them pay for everything. My grandmother went through something similar. Thank you for being so brave." But what really changed everything was when, in the middle of my stream, I received a live call. It was Olivia. "Grandma, please turn off that stream," she pleaded. "You're ruining our lives." "I'm ruining your lives," I repeated, so that all the viewers could hear. "Don't you think you all ruined mine first, Grandma? Everyone is watching us. My friends, my teachers, the whole school. I can't even leave the house. And how do you think I would feel if you had me committed to a nursing home against my will, declared mentally incompetent, and stole all my money? That was never going to happen. We were just exploring options. I shouted for the first time in days, losing the composure I had maintained. "Olivia, I raised you since you were a baby. I changed your diapers. I took you to school. I took care of you when you were sick. And you were there smiling while your parents planned to destroy me." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening, but the live comments exploded. Tell her the truth. This girl is shameless. Mrs. Caldwell, don't let her manipulate you. Grandma? Olivia finally said in a broken voice, I need money for college and for other things. You thought what? Olivia. You thought I was your personal bank. You thought you could collaborate on a plan to drive me crazy and then use my money to pay for your studies. It's not like that. And how is it? Explain it to the 4,000 people who are watching us right now. Explain to them why you told your friends you needed to borrow money to pay for my medical care while I was perfectly fine. Another silence, then barely audible. How do you know that? Because I'm not the senile old woman you think I am. I know everything. Olivia. Everything. Including things about you that your parents don't know. What things that could ruin your future much more than this stream could. She hung up immediately, but the damage was already done. The viewers had heard my granddaughter implicitly admit that she knew about the plans against me. 5 minutes later, my phone rang again. This time it was Benjamin, and he sounded absolutely furious. Mom, turn off that stream right now, he roared. Hello, Benjamin, I said sweetly. Do you want to talk to the 5,000 people who are watching us? This is defamation. I'm going to sue you for slander. Slander? Is it slander to play audio recordings where you all plan to drive me crazy? Is it slander to show bank statements that prove you've been stealing from me for months? Those recordings are illegal. Not in this state, son. And definitely not when they're made to prevent a crime. But tell me, do you want to explain to all these viewers why you paid a document forger $50,000 yesterday afternoon? The silence was so long. I thought he had hung up. How do you know that? Because Paul Hayes is an FBI informant. Benjamin, congratulations. Now you're not only being investigated for family fraud, but for federal conspiracy. You're lying. Want to bet? Check the news tomorrow morning. Or better yet, wait for the federal agents to knock on your door. The live comments went wild. FBI, FBI, FBI. This family is going to jail. Mrs. Caldwell is a detective. Justice for Grandma. Mom, Benjamin said in a broken voice, completely different from his fury before. Please stop this. We can still fix it. We're family, aren't we? Benjamin, I replied with genuine sadness. A family doesn't betray. A family doesn't steal. A family doesn't plan the mental destruction of one of its members. What you are is not a family. It's a criminal organization that shares a last name. We gave you 45 years of our lives. You didn't give me 45 years. I gave you 45 years of my life. I gave up everything for you. And you were just waiting for me to die to inherit what you thought I had. We need that money. Mom, we have debts, problems. And that's why you decided to drive me crazy. That's why you decided to steal from me. That's why you decided to destroy the last years of my life. It wasn't personal. Those 3 words hung in the air like a death sentence. It wasn't personal. 45 years of love, sacrifice, and dedication. And to him, it wasn't personal. You're right. Benjamin, I said finally, it wasn't personal for you all, and from now on, it won't be personal for me either. I'll see you in court. I hung up and looked at the camera. And that, dear viewers, was my family. I said with a sad smile, tomorrow, I'll continue with this story. Good night. I ended the stream with over 7,000 viewers and hundreds of messages of support. For the first time in weeks, I went to sleep feeling that I was not alone in this battle. The next morning, I woke up with my phone exploding with notifications. My live stream had gone viral. I had thousands of messages of support, hundreds of interview requests from media outlets, and surprisingly, dozens of messages from other older people who had gone through similar situations. Mrs. Caldwell. One message said, "My son did the exact same thing. Thank you for being brave and telling your story. You've inspired me to take action." Another said, "I'm a lawyer specializing in elder abuse. Your case is textbook. If you need additional help, I'm at your disposal at no cost." But the message that impacted me the most was from a woman named Carol Sterling. Mrs. Caldwell. I'm a social worker. Just yesterday, I prevented a family from having their 75-year-old father committed after seeing your stream. Your courage is saving other grandparents. Dr. Montgomery called me at 9 in the morning. Mrs. Caldwell, I have news that will change everything, he said with a smile I hadn't seen before. The FBI arrested Paul Hayes last night, and in his interrogation, he confessed everything about the transaction with your family. Everything. Not only did he admit that Benjamin paid him to forge medical documents, but he also revealed that your family asked him to create a fake will in your name, leaving everything to them and declaring that you were mentally incompetent when you signed it. I felt as if I had been punched in the stomach. A fake will. Apparently, the plan was much more elaborate than we thought. They were going to use the fake medical documents to have you committed. Then they would present the forged will and finally wait for you to die in the nursing home to legally inherit everything. My God, I whispered. How long had they been planning this, according to Paul Hayes? Eleanor first contacted him 4 months ago. This was not a desperate last-minute decision. It was a calculated and premeditated conspiracy. That afternoon, while I was processing this new information in my hotel suite, I received an unexpected call. It was Olivia. And for the first time in weeks, her voice sounded genuinely broken. "Grandma, can we please talk, just you and me?" "What for, Olivia? For you to lie to me again? For you to try to manipulate me emotionally?" "No, Grandma. To tell you the truth, the whole truth, I can't take this anymore." Something in her voice made me hesitate. I decided to take a risk. "Okay, but it will be in a public place with witnesses, and I'm going to record the entire conversation. Whatever you want, just please." We met at the cafe in the hotel lobby. Olivia arrived with eyes swollen from crying, dressed carelessly. Very different from the vain girl I knew. "Grandma," she began before I could say anything, "you have to know that I never wanted things to go this far. How far? Olivia, how far did you think was acceptable? At first, Mom and Dad just talked about convincing you to move to a luxury nursing home. They said it would be better for you, that you would have the company of people your own age. And what did you think I thought maybe they were right. The house is very big for you alone, and sometimes you seemed lonely. She stopped and looked me in the eyes. But that was before I knew about the money. What money? They didn't know about my secret accounts.
No, but they knew about your pension, about the savings you had in the local bank, about the value of the house. Mom had been investigating for months, going through your papers when you weren't home. She would call your bank, pretending to be you. She even went to see your old boss to ask about your retirement pension. Each revelation was a deeper stab, and when they decided it wasn't enough to just convince me, Olivia began to cry. When Mom found out that you could live another 20 years, she said she couldn't wait that long, that she needed the money now. What did she need the money for so urgently? To pay Dad's debts. He lost a lot of money on sports betting over the past 2 years. He owes over $100,000 to some very dangerous people. Another shocking revelation. Benjamin had not only lost his job, he was a compulsive gambler with dangerous debts. And what part did you play in all of this? I needed money for college and for other things. She unconsciously touched her belly. Other things like what? Olivia, I'm pregnant. Grandma, she confessed finally. The father he's a married man who doesn't want to know anything about the baby. I need money to decide what to do. My heart broke for my granddaughter, but I also felt a deep rage. And that's why you had decided to participate in a plan to drive me crazy. I didn't know they wanted to drive you crazy, she shouted, attracting glances from other cafe customers. I just thought they wanted a doctor to say you needed special care. What's the difference? Olivia, I don't know. I guess there isn't a difference. She cried in silence for a few minutes. Grandma, when you left the house, everything fell apart. Dad and Mom do nothing but fight. Mom says it's all Dad's fault for gambling. Dad says it's all Mom's fault for being too ambitious. And I'm in the middle, pregnant and terrified. And now, what do you want from me? I want you to forgive me, and I want you to know that if you testify against Mom and Dad, I'm going to tell the truth. Everything I know, everything I saw, everything I heard, I remained silent, processing this unexpected offer. Why would you change sides now? Olivia. Because last night, Dad told me that if everything goes wrong, they're going to say that I was the one who had the idea to steal your jewels. They're going to say that I manipulated them into doing it because I needed money for drugs. Drugs? I don't do drugs. Grandma. But Dad says it's more credible to blame the rebellious teenager than to admit that they planned everything. The final betrayal. Not only had they betrayed me, but now they were willing to betray their own daughter to save themselves. Do you have proof of what you're telling me? Olivia took out her phone. I have recordings of all their fights since you left. I have text messages where they plan to blame me. I have videos of Mom counting the money she got from selling your jewels. Why did you record all of that? Because a week ago, I realized that when all this is over, they're going to abandon me. 2, I'm underage. I'm pregnant. And I have no money. They're going to need a scapegoat. And that scapegoat is going to be me. I looked at her intently, trying to determine
if this was another manipulation or if I was finally hearing the truth. Olivia, if you decide to testify against your parents, your life will change forever. Your relationship with them will be completely over. My relationship with them is already over. Grandma, from the moment they decided to use me as part of their plan against you, and then decided to sacrifice me to save themselves. And what do you want in exchange for your testimony? I want you to help me finish high school. I want you to help me make the right decision about my pregnancy. And I want you to teach me how to be a strong woman like you. For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of the old connection I had had with my granddaughter. Olivia, if you do this, if you help me get justice, I'm not only going to help you with high school and with your situation, I'm going to teach you something much more valuable. What I'm going to teach you that real family is not defined by blood, but by loyalty, respect, and genuine love. And that sometimes protecting yourself means moving away from toxic people, even if you share their last name. Olivia extended her hand across the table. Deal, Grandma. I shook her hand, knowing that this moment would mark the beginning of the end for Benjamin and Eleanor. Deal, my girl. But now you're my ally, and allies protect each other. Are you ready for that responsibility? More ready than I've ever been for anything in my life. The day of the trial came faster than I expected. In 3 weeks, Dr. Montgomery had built a case so solid that even my family's expensive lawyer recommended that they plead guilty to negotiate a lesser sentence. But Benjamin and Eleanor refused. They wanted to take the case to trial, convinced they could manipulate the jury with the image of the loving family caring for the confused grandmother. The day the trial began, I arrived at the courthouse dressed in my most elegant black suit, accompanied by Olivia, who had decided to move in with me at the hotel for the duration of the legal process. "Are you nervous, Grandma?" she asked me as we went up the courthouse stairs. "No, my girl," I replied calmly. "I'm at peace. The truth always finds its way out." The courtroom was packed. My story had become national news after several outlets covered my live streams. There were journalists, cameras, and dozens of older people who had come to show their support. When I saw Benjamin and Eleanor at the defense table, I barely recognized them. Benjamin had lost weight and had deep, dark circles under his eyes. Eleanor looked gaunt and nervous. The stress of knowing they were facing years in prison had taken its toll. The prosecutor presented the case masterfully. He showed the audio recordings where they planned to drive me crazy. He presented evidence of credit card fraud. He explained the conspiracy with the document forger and finally showed the proof of the fraudulent mortgage on my house. But the most shocking moment came when Olivia took the stand as a witness for the prosecution. "Miss Caldwell," the prosecutor asked her, "can you tell us what you heard when your parents discussed their plans for your grandmother?" With a firm, clear voice, Olivia narrated every conversation, every plan, every betrayal. She described how they had planned to switch my medications, how they had calculated how much money they would get from my death, and how they had decided to blame her if everything went wrong. When she finished testifying, The silence in the courtroom was deafening. I saw several members of the jury wiping tears from their eyes. The defense attorney tried to discredit Olivia, suggesting she was lying to get money from me. "Ms., isn't it true that you're pregnant and need money?" he asked aggressively. "Yes, I'm pregnant," Olivia replied with dignity. "And yes, I need help. But I'm not lying to get it. I'm telling the truth because it's the right thing to do. And isn't it convenient that your grandmother promised to help you financially in exchange for your testimony?" "My grandmother didn't promise me money in exchange for my testimony," Olivia replied firmly. "She promised me support because I finally had the courage to do the right thing. There's a difference." When it was my turn to testify, I took the stand, feeling the weight of all the eyes in the courtroom on me. "Mrs. Caldwell," the prosecutor asked me, "can you tell us how you felt when you discovered your family's plans?" "I felt like I had lived a lie for 45 years, I replied. "They didn't just betray me. They made me question every moment of love I thought I had shared with them. They made me wonder if I was ever anything more than an obstacle between them and my money." "And how do you feel now?" "Now I feel free," I said, looking directly at Benjamin. "Free from the lies, free from the manipulation, and free from the obligation to love people who never truly loved me." The defense attorney tried to make me look like a vengeful, wealthy woman who was exaggerating the situation. "Mrs. Caldwell, isn't it true that you have millions of dollars that you never mentioned to your family? It's true that I have resources they were unaware of," I admitted. "But those resources do not justify conspiring to drive me crazy, stealing my identity, or forging legal documents." "Don't you think your family deserved to know about that money-deserved why? For planning my forced commitment, for stealing from me for months, for betraying me in the cruelest way possible." The trial lasted 5 days. In the end, the jury deliberated for just 2 hours before returning with a unanimous verdict: guilty on all counts. Benjamin was sentenced to 12 years in prison for conspiracy, fraud, forgery of documents, and elder abuse. Eleanor received 10 years for the same charges, plus additional charges for mortgage fraud. When the judge read the sentences, Eleanor broke down crying. Benjamin simply stared ahead with an empty expression. After the trial, as we were leaving the courthouse, a reporter asked me, "Mrs. Caldwell, do you feel that justice was served?" "I feel that legal justice was served," I replied. "But the real justice was discovering who I truly was before it was too late to enjoy the rest of my life." 6 months later, I bought a beautiful house on the outskirts of the city. It's smaller than my old house, but it's full of light and has a lovely garden where Olivia and I spend our afternoons. Olivia finished high school with honors and decided to keep the baby. She is now studying law, inspired by everything we went through together. She says she wants to specialize in elder protection. Grandma, she told me a few weeks ago as we worked in the garden, "Do you ever regret adopting Dad?" "I don't regret adopting him," I replied. Caressing the flowers we had planted together, I only regret not having understood sooner that kindness should never be practiced at the cost of self-destruction. And what did you learn from all of this? I learned that real family is not defined by blood or shared years. It is defined by mutual respect, genuine loyalty, and unconditional love. I learned that it is better to be alone with dignity than to be accompanied by betrayal. And I learned that it is never too late to start over. Now, at 71 years old, I am living the fullest life I have ever had. I travel. I read. I have new friends. And above all, I have a genuine relationship with my granddaughter, who has become the daughter of my heart that I always wanted to have. Benjamin and Eleanor have tried to contact me from prison several times, but their letters go directly to the trash, unopened. Some doors, once closed, should never be opened again. Every night before I go to sleep, I am thankful for 3 things. For Dr. Sterling, who had the courage to warn me. For my own strength that I didn't know I had. And for discovering that endings can also be beginnings if you have the courage to write your own story. Kindness is still important in my life, but now I practice it with wisdom. I help other older people who are facing similar situations. I support Olivia in her studies, and I have created a foundation to prevent elder abuse. But more important than all that, I finally learned to love myself as much as I loved everyone else my whole life. And that, my dears, is the most valuable lesson of